Welcome back to another episode of Luxury Fridays. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. You are in the right spot. If you're a team leader, you're a broker owner, you're looking to differentiate yourself from the competition, and you're looking to stand out, right? Everybody knows a real estate agent. So what are you doing to differentiate? There's 1.6 million realtors. Everybody knows a real estate agent. And during some potential turbulent times ahead with inflation and interest rates, there's definitely a need for consultants, advisors, agents that bring more value to the table. So what are you doing to differentiate yourself? Just yesterday, there was an article out there on my good friends over at uh, T3 Summit. They came out with a new product offering, and I actually just posted. I want to read it to you. Again, you are in the right place if you're a team leader. Before I read this to you, you're in the right place if you're a team leader, you're a broker owner, or you're a solo agent, and you're looking to work smarter, not harder. You're looking for tools and resources, actionable items to differentiate yourself. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, type them in the comment section for me. Okay. Type them in the comment section for me or for our guest who will be coming on here in a moment. And that's a great way to communicate with me. You guys don't need to download anything. You type in your comment, whether you're watching on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and we'll see it right there in the comment section. I want to read to you something right here. And this was something I sent yesterday. And literally, my good friends at realestatenews.com. It's a new publication, realestatenews.com. They interviewed the CEO of Remax, Nick Bailey. He's a smart man. I've known Nick for years. And the question they asked Nick basically was, during this upcoming turbulent time, that uncertainty, what is going to be the key for agents to be successful in a market that's changing? And I'll share with you guys my response here in a moment. I'll put that on in the comment sections. I'll put that in there for you guys because I do think that's going to be really important, and that's going to be a way to differentiate yourself from the competition in a shifting market. So I'll make sure I add that here in a second. I have a guest on today, and I'll bring him on here in a minute. But just a reminder, if you guys are getting value from these, my guests are volunteering their time. I'm volunteering my time. We've been doing this for a year now, Luxury Fridays. We do them to bring value to you. We want to differentiate you from the competition. We want you to bring more value than the competition. And that is why we do these Luxury Fridays. As always, if you guys have a comment for me, if you have a question and you're watching this live, go ahead and shoot it to me. But if you're and I'll put my email on the screen right now, Michael at Marketing Luxury Group. For those of you that are watching a replay, that's the best way to ask a question of me, is probably shoot me an email. It's the best way for you to do that. And I just want to remind you that in literally 17 days and 23 hours, we are going to be coming down to Texas to do our first not our first. We have not done a training with the Houston Association of Realtors. We have 4 courses approved in Texas, but this is our first partnership with the Houston Association of Realtors. We're really excited about that. It's 18 days away, literally, or if you want to call it 17 hours and 17 days and 23 hours and 53 minutes. You can find out all the information there by going to luxurydesignation.com, luxurydesignation.com. That's where you'll find all the information, including the $2,000 in bonus items. Even if you can't make it in person, you're going to want to sign up because you will get access to our on-demand training. The guests that I'm going to be bringing on here in a minute, a year ago, I did my training, and I want to take my camera off real quick. I did my training a year ago in St. Louis, and we had a lot of these same questions. What can we do in a changing market? And this is my response. I know you can't see me right now, but I want it on the screen. My response is, in a shifting market, when people are talking about inflation, they're talking about interest rates. My response is turn off the news. Number 2, love your database and bring value to your current and past clients. Step 3, invest more in marketing and video while your competitors cut back. Step 4 is diversify the portfolio of buyers and sellers that you represent, as well as lower price points and upper price points. Don't just be a specialist, diversify in a shifting market. Step 5 is be consistent. Step 6 is embrace the grind. And step 7 is mastermind with others that were successful during the shifting market of 10 to 12 years ago. Okay, that's my advice for everybody in this shifting market. Okay. All right. So we have Naples. Mark, thanks for joining from Naples. Mark, I'm going to be down. The Miami Association of Realtors is hosting their International Congress event November 7th and 8th at the Biltmore in Coral Gables. I'm going to be down there. It would be great for you to come out there. If you want to meet up, let me know. And I'm doing a training at the Miami Association of Realtors headquarters on November 9th. It's a CE, it's a 3-hour CE training. You can literally go to luxury101ce.com, luxury101ce.com. I just typed that in the comments section. And that is our next CE training in Florida. All right. So let me set the stage for our next guest, and I'm going to bring on camera here. Kyle Morris and I met about a year ago. I did my luxury designation training in St. Louis. As I mentioned, from time to time, we bring on various guests, excuse me, whether they're an established luxury rock star agent, whether they're a newer agent, if they're doing something different, unique, they fill a void as far as guests, and or they're doing something inspirational for our audience. And that's kind of what Kyle does. So Kyle and I reconvened. I was at a conference in Vegas a couple weeks back, and he ran into me. He's like, "Hey, I got to fill you in." And he's got a really cool story. He did not want to necessarily be a real estate agent all his life. He was actually, I'll let him tell you his story, but he's only been licensed for 3 years, but he's getting some great traction on some stuff, including handwritten notes. And so I want to bring Kyle on. Kyle's out of the St. Louis market, and he's got a $2.1 million listing that he's expecting to get the listing paperwork back today. So without further ado, Kyle Morris. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us. Love the American flag in the backdrop there. So Kyle, I tried to set the stage a little bit, 3 years in the industry. Tell everybody a little bit about how you and I first met about a year ago. You attended my event in St. Louis, and you said there were a lot of synergies in my delivery and some of the topics we talk about, including stacking the offer. But tell everybody a little bit about how you heard about me and what your maybe big takeaways from the event then were, and fast forward a year to today, what's going on in your life, and tell everybody about some of the things that you're getting some traction in.
So, my name's Kyle Morris, and I am with EXP. And I have been over at EXP for over just about a year now. And I was invited to your training, and I decided to go. I didn't know if I was ever going to do luxury listings. I want to, I've always wanted to. Who wouldn't?
Right.
That's one of the dream goals as a realtor, is listing the luxury properties. So I came to your training, and the takeaways I got from it were my thoughts going into it. Not everyone can sell or get the luxury listings. And the one that we're talking about right now, it's a list price at $2.1 million. I got that. She called me when we were in Vegas. I was on my way to one of the general session, and she says, "Is this Kyle Morris?" I said, "Well, yes, it is." She goes, "Well, I got your letter that you sent me almost 2 years ago, and I saved it on my refrigerator, and I just kept it there, and I knew I was going to use you when I decided to sell again." And I thought about the last time that I wrote a letter to somebody, and I remember this because this was shortly this was shortly after I became an agent. I wrote this letter to this lady. She said, we were in Vegas, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to go in this conference. Will you please text me your name, your address, and what you want for your house, and let me get through this conference, and I'll call you back." And she said, "Okay." So since I always have my computer everywhere I go, I'm sitting in this conference, and I just happened to, pull up her address, and I said, "Wow, this is a really, really nice house." And she replied, she goes, "I want to list it for 2.1 million." So this lady that 2 years ago that wrote this letter to saved it, and she calls me now. It's just, I planted that seed 2 years ago, and that seed finally blossomed.
And you shared with me how you were almost discouraged a little bit because you were doing a lot of handwritten notes and you weren't getting the traction you wanted. And then this letter from 2 years ago came full circle while you were at a conference, and then you looked up the address and you were so excited because you're like, wow, this is exciting.
What was even more crazy than that was the day before I got that phone call, we were talking about expired listings. And it was an expired listing that I got just looking up expired listings in my MLS. That's all I did.
And
And
you're
you
going to
don't,
see a lot more of those in many markets, right? When the market shifts, days on the market increase, list
yep.
to sale price is lower. Maybe you have seller expectations on price from 2020, 2021, and that's in the rearview mirror in many markets. So you might be seeing more and more of those. And those of you that are watching, I am talking with my good friends over at the Red X, and we are planning out an expired $1 million mailing boot camp. Uh, might be virtual with some in person, uh, but we'll keep you guys posted on that. Some best practices, how to differentiate yourself. I literally used to send, I used to send silver platters in the mail to canceled and expired. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So,
I
so
gotta get out.
Kyle, so real quick, tell me a little bit about you got this listing paperwork that's coming today.
Yep.
2-1. Have you done some research? Is 2-1 her? I know it's her price, but what do you think a realistic price is going to be in this market today?
Um, my opinion, and I could be wrong about this, but when the interest rates are going up and we're talking these luxury homes, I don't, maybe it won't affect the price points too much, hopefully. I mean, people aren't, uh I don't think it's going to be too terribly bad. The
So a couple things. So I'm going to coach Kyle up right now for those of you that are listening. So Kyle, I'm going to, this might not be the case, but for Kyle, who doesn't have the experience in the $1 million plus, $2 million plus price point, how can you manage? How can Kyle manage the seller's expectations? So if I were Kyle, one of the things I would do, and the town that this house is in,
Cape Girardeau.
Cape Girardeau, okay? And so I would look to see how many sales above. I'd start with $2 million in the last year have sold in Cape Girardeau. How many are active? how many have sold. There's probably not a lot of those. So then maybe you lower the price point to 1.5, and you try to determine how many have sold, how many are on the market, and that tells you how many months of inventory there is. So, for example, Kyle, if 3 have sold above 1.75 and there are 5 on the market, that would be a year, a little over a year and a half of inventory. Okay. If 3 have sold and 3 are on the market, that would be 3 have sold in the last year and 3 are on the market. That would be 1 year of inventory on the market. And so just a reminder, real estate, those that are watching, it's about supply and demand, supply and demand. And I'm going to bring on an image right now for you guys. And this image is a simple reminder of supply and demand. Okay. So when there's 7 or more months of inventory, we call that a buyer's market. Homes tend to depreciate in a buyer's market. When there's about 5 or 6 months of inventory, we call that a balanced or a neutral market. Home prices tend to stabilize and stay stable. They don't necessarily go up. They don't necessarily go down. And when there's 4 months or less, we call that a seller's market, and homes tend to depreciate. So the first thing I would do for Kyle, and I would do for any seller, is I would try to manage their expectations, right? Because overall, Kyle's market might be a seller's market. There's not a lot of inventory out there. But at some price point in Kyle's market, the shift occurs from a seller's market to a balanced and neutral market to a buyer's market. And chances are in those top 10%, in those upper, what I call ultra luxury markets, many cases, it could be a buyer's market. So the worst thing Kyle could do is not manage the seller's expectations. And she's thinking a lot of showings and offers, plural, because her girlfriend down the street that has a $389,000 home just had 13 showings and 5 offers. So Kyle's got to do the research on, in Cape Girardeau, what's active, what's sold. Now, if there's not much data, he might have to go outside of that town or maybe do the county in some cases. Okay, so our job is to manage the seller's expectation from a multiple standpoint. The reasons why: number one, you don't want them calling you all the time, why isn't my home selling if it's a buyer's market in that price point. Number two, okay, is maybe she doesn't want to do some painting. Maybe she doesn't want to do some neutralizing, or maybe she does some, but Kyle's got some recommendations because you only have one time to make a first impression, and she's fighting Kyle on some things. Well, if Kyle has the data and could go back to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, the reality is we don't have a lot of activity. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have a client right now. It's a really great neighborhood. It's a great house, 5 bedrooms. There's a lot of 4 bedrooms around there. It's in the average price point. We've been on for almost 5 months. We got our first offer last night. And, it's a lower offer based on the asking price, but all the feedback up to this point is it needs a lot of work, and buyers are going to want to redo the kitchens and at least 2 bathrooms, if not 3. And so in this case, those are the facts. So we can look in the needle in the haystack buyer that wants to put in a lot of work and wants to overpay for a home, or we got to cater to the vast majority. And so Kyle's got to do the same thing. So again, 2.1, if 2.1 is the seller's price, ultimately Kyle might put it on at the seller's price, but the market will dictate price.
Yep.
Kyle can think it's worth 2.1. The seller can think it's worth 2.1. The market will tell the seller and Kyle what it's really worth based on showings or lack thereof, based on feedback, positive or negative, and based on offers.
Yep.
Does that make sense, Kyle?
I 100% agree with that.
So, Kyle, before this 2.1, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, what was the highest price listing you've had?
It was actually a farm, and it was we sold it $820.
Awesome.
And I had the buyer as well.
So 3 years in the business, and he did a $1.6 million transaction. 800 times 2 is awesome. What about single family? This is a single family, 2.1.
Yeah, sure is.
Yep. What was the highest single family you've had?
It's currently listed right now. That's at $650.
Great.
It's on it's it's unique. A lot of land, ponds.
Yeah, those unique properties, I tend to attract those, right? So you really want to highlight the ponds and if there's lakes and acreages and and trails and maybe hiking or hunting or dogs. You really want to sell the lifestyle on that property. So Kyle, do me a favor. When you get these photos for this $2.1 million listing, shoot me a link. We might have you on to do a fresh eyes analysis, give you some feedback. Once you're about to go live, give you some tips, give me some suggestions on how I would position the home based on the photos. Take more photos than you think. Most photographers, if they're really good, because everything's in today's digital world, have multiple angles of multiple rooms. Use a drone, get some drone shots, and do me a favor, keep me posted on how things go, would you?
Yes, I will. I promise. Thank
I'm
you.
really excited for you. Keep it up and keep pounding the pavement. You got Kyle here, was a little frustrated not getting the return on his time with handwritten notes,
Yep.
and then 2 years after the fact, he's got his first trophy listing, and we're really proud of you. So keep it up, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Kyle Morris attended my St. Louis event last September. He's doing some really great things. If you notice what I did with Kyle right there is I asked him the 2-1, her price or yours. It was hers. And I don't know if he had all the data ready as far as what was listed, what is sold. So I gave him the formula on how to go back and do some research on, hey, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Is she priced right? And that's all, excuse me, that's based on this image right here. Months supply and how it impacts price. Buyer's market, 7 or more months. Neutral market, 5 to 6 months. And a seller's market. I hope this is helpful to you. Oh, well, thanks. Okay. Thank you so much for the kind words of encouragement for Kyle. We can all use encouragement. The world's got enough puller downers. We need more builder uppers. So thanks for the kind little note there. And yes, Kyle's doing some great things. So thank you for that. All right. Just a couple reminders. I want to share that with you. A couple reminders. This is my next event that I'm doing right now in November 7th and 8th. It's the Miami Congress event. We're really excited about it. I'm going to be there with the NAR's chief economic advisor, Lawrence Yoon. I was on a panel with him with the Luxury Portfolio International about a year ago. The mayor of Miami is doing some great things, and I'm honored to be with this group at Miami Congress. If you are looking to network with other top people and you want to grow your international connections, I recommend you consider going to this event. I just had on our podcast, it just released. Let me find it. It is, give me a second. Let me find it for you. If you go to our luxury listing podcast, I just released this episode with Teresa Kenny, the CEO of the largest association in the U.S., second largest in the world, Miami Association of Realtors. That is the episode 212 of our podcast. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be with them at the Miami Congress event. We're really excited about that. And last but not least is, give me a second, I want to share with you, is if you guys are interested in where I am speaking next, that's not the right one right there. This is here. This is where we're going to be next. If you go to our website, and you can see where I'll be speaking next, the Miami Congress, HAR, and I just got asked to speak for Lux VT's big conference in December. So we're excited about that. You guys can always reach out to me and ask or check out our website, and that will give you a bunch of information. You can go to luxuryfridays.com. On the bottom, you see it scrolling. or you can go to Join Lux Group. We have a lot of great resources right there, a lot of great resources, including our blog, which is Lux Redefined. Lux Redefined. Any comments from anybody? Any comments from those that are watching? Any questions for Kyle? Any comments for me? NAR, anybody going to NAR in Orlando coming up? NAR in Orlando coming up. I am 50-50 on going because I'm going to be in Miami, and then the week after I'm going to be in Houston. So I might be going to NAR, but hit me up. Let me know if you are. Again, my contact information can be found on our website and our main website for our designation with all our contact information is just luxurylistingspecialist.com, luxurylistingspecialist.com. You can find out everything about me and where to get a hold of me, where I'm speaking next, etc. Just luxurylistingspecialist.com. Any questions, any comments? We have some really great content we're releasing coming up. Looking at it right now and looking at our next topics that are coming out. Keep in mind the five senses. Keep in mind the five senses when you go to market a home, sights and smells and all of that. Please keep in mind the five senses when you're marketing a home. That's number one. Number two, I want to share with you a topic that we're talking about is matchmakers. Matchmakers. You guys, if you are in a market where there's a shortage of inventory, let your database know what you're looking for. Hey, I have a buyer that's looking for a townhouse, a condo in downtown Plano, downtown Frisco, in downtown Tucson that has got a first floor primary bedroom, it's elevator, it's got a parking garage, whatever it might be. Let your database know if you have a buyer, but you can't find them the home. I call that our matchmaker program, and we've had a lot of success with that. That's our matchmaker program. Let me know if you guys have questions about that. And those of you that are watching a replay and you got some value from Kyle today, please leave us a like, leave us a review. And if you think you'd be a great guest on our show, we're always looking for guests. Kyle had never listed a home above $700,000 ever, single family, and he's about to get a $2.1 million. I had a phone call today with my intern, that intern for me last summer, Dugan. Maybe you remember Dugan was on my podcast. I'll share with you Dugan. Remember that podcast I had and that Luxury Fridays going back maybe about a month ago? Dugan Riley. Dugan Riley's got, I just got him through a private tour of a $15 million home. Okay. He's doing some great things. He's getting frustrated. Sometimes we need a cheerleader in our corner to remind you how good you're doing. Dugan is anxious. He's not as where he wants to be, even though he's only been licensed for less than 6 months. I reminded him he's touring $15 million homes. He's got an opportunity to work with a couple multi-million-dollar clients, and he is in a great spot. Sometimes we need a reminder of how good we have it compared to how bad it could be. Okay, so 18 days away is our next in-person designation event. If you are interested in perhaps hosting an event in your backyard, in your market center, in your hometown, shoot me a note. Our next event is on the 18th, and that's simply going to be in Houston, luxurydesignation.com. If there's no other questions, then I just want to remind you that what you focus on and expands. What you focus on expands. And my response to you, if you said, Mike, during the turbulent time, during a slower market, what advice would you have for me? And I showed this earlier. This is the advice I'd have for you. These 7 things. Number 1, turn off the news. Number 2, love your database and bring value to them. Number 3 is invest more in marketing and videos while your competition cuts back. Number 4 is diversify buyers and sellers, high-end and lower priced properties that you represent. Number 5 is be consistent. Number 6 is embrace the day-to-day grind. And number 7, mastermind and ask opinions of other agents that went through this difficult time a few years back. Okay, 18 days away, our next event, Luxury Designation. checking for any questions. And if there are none, then we will see you guys in a week. Next week, Luxury Fridays is November 4th, same time, same place. Until next time, make it a great day and prove others wrong. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.